Hi folks, welcome to another episode of CBR Rebuilds. Today we're going to tackle the frame a little bit. I think we've got a good run on the engine issue. I mean, still doing a little more research. We're not getting fuel. If you have any ideas, leave a comment down below. But we're going to start working on the hard parts right now, getting the frame replaced. We've got a new front section of a frame, and we've got our broken one here. So we're going to work on getting this one out. And to do that, I think one of the first things we have to do is remove the steering box. The steering box and the lines, we need to get those up and out of the way because the front horn here slides through where the box mounts. So we'll just get it loose. We may not need to take it off. We'll do a little more research, but let's try to get these front crash horns off and get this front of the frame cleaned up. Alright folks, so we're here at the donor frame for the Jeep Wrangler. We got this whole frame here for less than half the cost of just this section. So you can buy just this bumper bracket crash horn here, part of the frame. And I got this whole front half of a frame for less than half of what this part costs. And it's really good because we needed two of them. We can also get this piece out of it because ours is pretty well smashed. But to get this part out, the part that we need to start looking at cutting these welds loose. So these welds go around the frame on both the inside and the outside. There's also a little bit of a weld right here in this pocket that we need to cut loose on the inside and outside. And once we get those welds cut loose, we should be in pretty good shape to get this out, except for the driver's side. So on the driver's side of a left-hand drive Jeep, you've got these I guess they're just pipe bushings that go through for the frame where you bolt your steering box on. So we need to cut these loose as well. They're just welded here on the outside, but we need to get these loose. And between the Jeep and this donor frame, we need to get two of these tubes that we can re-weld at the end. Because we need those bolts to hold the steering box in securely, so we need to get those tubes in. But we're going to work on getting this one cut loose, maybe learn a few tricks where we have a little extra space around the frame, and at that point we'll go in and start removing the one on the Jeep in the garage. So we're going to cut this one loose and see what we can learn doing this. Alright folks, well we got this apart. We got the part that we were really after. We ended up damaging the frame rails a little bit more, but we don't need the frame rails. We only need the front section for this one. And when we're taking the other one apart, we'll probably damage the front section because we don't need it. We got to make compromises somewhere, make it a little quicker. So these are the tools I used and the assistance of my wife, but we used the sledgehammer, the air chisel, and the grinder. So on the grinder we just cut back a little bit from the welds. I just didn't want to have to cut too deep around the weld. So now we can come in with a grinding disc and grind that flat so it's nice and smooth. Probably still hit it with primer or weld through primer before we're done. And what we did is we cut notches around those little windows that had welds in it, and then we just kind of drove them apart. So to get them loosened up, after we got the grinding done, we took the air chisel and ran along these cuts, and then even kind of underneath and flared these out so we could get less engagement of the frame rail. And then what we did is we actually just set this frame up on its side and wiggled the frame rails all the way at the end. We had a really long lever, and we were able to break the welds loose, and then just a little hitting of the sledgehammer right here, we drove the front section out for both frame rails. It was a little bit more work than I thought it would be, but I still think that we're in a doable as a DIY kind of area. A little bit more work because you don't have all the fancy tools, you don't have a frame puller or anything. That would have made this pretty easy to tie it down and pull it with a hydraulic ram, but you know, with some simple hand tools, we were able to get this apart. And now I think we need to go look at how we're going to get the one that's on the Jeep apart. That might take a little bit more time than we took here because we need to be careful. That's a full vehicle. This was just a frame, so we'll probably get back set up inside and see how we're going to tackle the Jeep side of it. Alright folks, so we're back inside. We got the other frame front taken off, and we got this one all smashed up. But we still need to get a few things out of the way, like the power steering, steering gear, and some of the power steering lines that are up here. If we can get them out of the way, clean them up just a little bit while we're working, it would make it easier. So we're going to work on getting this area cleaned up. One thing that I did off camera, I got this body mount out just so that we don't have to fight that when we're trying to take it all apart. So we got the body mount out. Now we need to get the steering box off, get the steering link disconnected and all that stuff, and then we can get to taking out this frame section. So hang tight and get to moving on this. Alright folks, so as you can see here, we got the frame rail removed from both sides here. We got it cleaned out. We had to do a little bit of work with a cutoff wheel on a grinder, a grinding wheel, and a die grinder. The hardest thing is these tubes right here in the frame that space out for the steering box. We got those out without damaging the frame, so now we can put the replacements in when we go to put this together. Since we've taken this, we've got fresh grinding everywhere. Before we slide this together, we'll need to spray this down with some weld-through primer. We've got high zinc weld-through primer. So we'll spray all of the exposed metal here, and then it'll still allow us to weld it. If we need to get through in that certain spot, we can go ahead and weld it. One thing that has happened is that the frame rails have come together. Because this is the last, let's say, horizontal spacer, and we took it out of the Jeep, we have to put one back in. So the frame has kind of collapsed together just a little bit, about a quarter of an inch. So we're going to use a jack and some spacers, open up the frame, and then we'll slide in our frame rail ends here. And that'll give us the rigidity that we need. So we're going to work on getting this cleaned up a little bit more and get it primed in, and then we'll get the frame spaced out and slide it together. Alright folks, well, you can see we got the frame piece in here. Right now it's just sitting in there. I need to level it all out yet with the jacks. The measurements are really close to where we need to be, but a little bit of fine tuning. But you can see we were able to get the apron mount to go right in to the frame that we just added. And of course that side's not supported, but we'll be able to get that fixed up here shortly. So we're getting further along here. It looks like all the coolant lanes and everything else are lining up too. So we should be able to get this thing rolling once we get the frame welded and start getting that apron. The apron will be the next big project to tackle, but I'm not sure if that'll be next. It's the next big project to tackle. I don't know if we'll get to it next. But thanks for watching this episode of CB Rebuilds. Stay tuned. We'll keep working on this Jeep and we'll get further along. If you enjoy this content, consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon to get all the notifications when we put up new videos. Thanks for watching.